Good evening. How's everyone tonight? Doing great? All right, we will come to order. Let me just say, first of all, that we have one council member that is out on a planned trip, and then another one who came down with something today, doesn't feel well, and we said, don't come in. So he is listening to us here. So don't say anything, okay? You got it? All right, so let's come to order and a pledge of allegiance, a moment of silent prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. I need a motion for approval of the minutes from April 23rd, May 7th, and May 9th. We got a motion second, ready to vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you very much. Presentations, we have two presentations tonight. The third one was already done. The Pollinator Week was done earlier. So with that said, could I have Captain Jason Howe come forward? I'll be down there. Don't you worry. So do you have your golf shoes on today?
I did play golf.
Oh, congratulations. So we're going to present this plaque to you, but before we present, I want to read your story because most retirements, I'm very proud of what everybody's done, but I have almost 2 pages here of what's done.
I didn't write that much.
Well, your older sister wanted to know sure that I did read this.
All right.
Is your family here?
My wife, my mom, and my sister.
Could you stand up, please? So they are all very proud of you, and that I have some things I want to say about your hunting and your golf, but all the other things I couldn't say in public. So I'll tell you about them later.
All right.
But I'm going to read about Captain's life with us and his in the career. Jason started serving the community by volunteering for Coldwater Volunteer Fire Department in 1992. Jason began his career with the City of Concord Fire Department in November 8th of 1994. He was immediately assigned to Fire Station 1, then 6 months later completed an abbreviated recruit school. What does that mean, abbreviated?
Let me turn this on.
Yes, sir.
We came off shift for 6 weeks. Now I think it's 6 months, Chief, that they do recruit school, and ours was like 6 weeks.
So you already knew all this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, after he completed recruit school, he encountered his first major structural fire at Troutman's Barbecue. Tell us about that.
It was a hot day. It was my first fire. It was a nervous wreck. My captain told me to catch the hydrant. I caught the hydrant. The dang hydrant strap broke. I'm running down the road trying to get them to stop, and fire was blowing through the roof. There's about 200 people at the Cabarrus Creamery eating ice cream, watching us, and we finally got the hydrant called. We went in and attacked the fire.
Well, thank you. Over the next several years, Jason was promoted to Firefighter 2, Senior Firefighter, and then Specialist. He completed his fire science degree in 2001. Where did you get that?
Central Piedmont.
Excellent. In June of 2009, Jason was promoted to the rank of captain and was assigned to Station 7. 6 months later, he was reassigned to Station 3, where he spent the remainder of his career as captain of Engine 3. Station 3 is a special operations station and houses one of the rescue, one engine, and one USAR or Urban Search and Rescue Unit. Captain Howe's certifications include Swift Water, Confined Space Rescue, Rope Specialty, and several other required certifications. Throughout his time on Engine 3, he responded to numerous specialty calls medical calls, structural fires, and vehicle accidents. In the final years of his career, he served as relief chief in the absence of the battalion chief. Captain Howell proved himself to be an effective leader for the Concord Fire Department. His leadership and dedication will be greatly missed by the city of Concord, and especially the Concord Fire Department. We want to thank you for all you've done and will continue to do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's hear it. Yeah. And also, council would like to,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. All right, next we have the presentation of the proclamation, or presentation of the proclamation recognizing June 19th, 2024 as Juneteenth Day. I'd like to go ahead and read this for the record. Whereas Juneteenth also serves as Emancipation Day, Freedom Day, Jubilee Day, or Black Independence Day, it represents this day that all enslaved people, particularly those in Texas, were notified of their freedom. Whereas Juneteenth is the oldest known celebration commemorating the end of slavery in the United States, and whereas Juneteenth becomes the 12th federal holiday in June of 2021, and whereas Juneteenth reminds us to acknowledge and condemn the history of slavery and recognize the ongoing impact on our country. Now, therefore, I, William C. Dush, and the City Council for the City of Concord do hereby proclaim to honor the day of June 19, 2024 as Juneteenth Day. So, thank you, and we are proud to have put this onto our record. Moving forward, we have unfinished business. We have no unfinished business, new business. Any informational items?
No, sir.
Okay, we covered those on the Tuesday meeting.
Number 2, we got a presentation tonight.
Okay,
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, number 1 was covered on Tuesday at the work session. This evening, Number 2, Mary will come forward and present this item to council.
thank you.
Mayor, members of council, Mr. Davis Lipinski, Bowen National Research was selected as the consultant to 24 Housing Needs Assessment for Cabarrus Iredell Rowan Home Consortium. This document is one piece of information that staff uses to complete our 5-year consolidated plan for HUD. Bowen was selected from an extensive group of qualified applicants, but they were selected because of their past experience within the state of North Carolina. Bowen has completed over 300 market studies for the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency, 50 of which focused on members of the consortium. In addition, they have conducted over 500 additional studies within the state of North Carolina, the last of which that Concord is familiar with was a market study that was completed for our housing repositioning. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Patrick Bowen, the president of Bowen National Research.
Welcome.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. Again, I'm Patrick Bowen, president of Bowen National Research, based out of just outside of Columbus, Ohio. And we were brought in roughly, I think, in December to start this process. And it's a 3-county study, so it's part of the Home Consortium. And so tonight, I'll talk to you about some regional data, but I will focus in on the city of Concord and tell you what's happening here. Many of the things that you know, but some things you'll be surprised probably to hear from us. So the scope of work, again, we were asked to do several items to look at, demographics, economic, housing inventory, since it's a housing study. We had to look at a lot of different types of housing that you have. We looked at transportation, community services, development opportunities, meaning sites, potential sites for development. development costs, government regulations, the homeless population, and even identifying programs that whether local government could use those or the development community or the citizens themselves. And then we also have input from the community, whether they were surveys of stakeholders, employers, or your residents, as well as non-resident commuters. In the end, we probably had close to 1,200 points of contact. So while we collect a lot of data, economic and demographic and housing, we did hear from a lot of people. Hopefully some of you participated in the stakeholder survey, but we gathered input from community leaders like yourselves, but also then again employers, and then we wanted to hear from the residents. And even maybe just as important, we wanted to hear about people that are not residents of your community, but that come here, commute here to work, but they don't stay here. And we wanted to know who those people were and why don't they live here, and would they have an interest to live in this community. All right, so it was the 3 counties, Cabarrus, Iredell, and Rowan counties. And then we were asked to look at 4 of the metropolitan areas or municipalities here. And we also threw in Rowan County, Salisbury on some data points. So tonight, what you're going to see is some regional data and then how Concord or Cabarrus County fits in. All right, so this first slide here, you have 2 graphs. One is just overall regional growth. You see it says PSA, that's primary study area, that's the region. So that's the regional household growth. You've been growing a lot in terms of households. You're expected between 2023 and 2028 to continue to grow about another 12,000 households in this region. The graph on the right-hand side is showing you growth trends for each of the 3 counties. And you all are the darker blue at the top of that range in terms of that line graph. You've been growing obviously since 2010, and you're projected to grow between 2023 and 2028. You're going to add about 6,000 households. So if nothing else changes, and there's many reasons why you have housing needs, and even people that are already living here have certain housing needs, you're going to at least need to add 6,000 housing units just to keep up the pace here in the county in terms of your housing stock. Here in Concord, you're expected to add about 2,800 new households. So that's 2,800 housing units you're going to need in the next 5 years to keep where you're at, and you don't want to be where you're at. You have a housing shortage. So you actually need more housing units than that. And so that got factored in, but you have a lot of growth here. We do a lot of studies all over the country for a lot of different communities. They don't have growth. They are struggling. They're trying to attract jobs. So you have a blessing here. It's a challenge, I know, but this is a good opportunity to guide what kind of development you want to see in the years ahead. This is regional, again, the 3 counties combined. This is the change in households between 2023 and 2028. And you can see where the growth is expected in that 35 to 44 age group. That's your older millennials. And then that's 65 and older household groups. So you have 2 waves kind of going through the nation right now, the older millennials, and then you got the baby boomers. You're no different here in Cabarrus County or the region as a whole. You're experiencing that. In Concord itself, you're expected to add about 1,500 of these older adult households age 65 and older. When I say add, it's going to increase by about 1,500. That does not mean you have 1,500 people coming here to retire that are age 65 and older. A lot of them are already here. That's just over the next 5 years, they're going to age in place. So that's one of the things I think a lot of communities don't think about. They fairly think about the workforce as they should and other households in the community, but don't lose sight of the seniors. At some point, these folks are not going to be able to financially stay in their homes, or they just don't want to. Their families have moved out. They want to downsize. Right now, your housing stock is lacking a lot of different housing product types, but you don't have a lot of housing for your seniors to downsize into. So you're going to have a lot of growth among the older folks here, and that's something to definitely keep on your radar. We have a ton of data in the study. By the way, we have so much information on different population characteristics. I did not cover that here tonight. A lot more on households. We sliced it up in all different ways. But I just wanted to hit some of the highlights. Here's another one I wanted to cover with you real quick. We have a lot of data on migration. Who's coming in, who's going out of the area, and this is gross migration, and it's for each of the 3 counties. You can see you all on the far left-hand side. I marked Mecklenburg County for each of the 3 counties. You can see Mecklenburg, the Charlotte area, obviously influencing this area. This is basically representing people moving in or out of your area Mecklenburg is your biggest influence relative to everybody else. And if you think about housing costs there, which are higher, housing shortages, we did not do a study there, but I'm sure they have housing challenges and shortages as well. So you can see the people moving in and out of this area. I suspect more of them are moving up into this area. One that surprised me was Buncombe County, so over near Asheville. You got a lot of people that are either moving over there from here or they're coming from there to here. And we show those breakouts in the study itself. All right, so who moves here? When they come here, they take jobs. What jobs do they take? It's relevant to housing. And so I circled in, or boxed, if you want to say, in red, the two kind of key data points here. The first set is people moving into the county from another North Carolina county. And then next to that, people moving here to the county, but from outside of state. You could see the distribution is well distributed among all those income levels. When we do studies in other communities around the country, we've done more than 100 of these, I would say almost always, most of the incomes of the people that come into a market, they're taking those jobs that pay less than $35,000 a year. That's not the case here. You've got something different that I don't typically see, where you've got, because of your job market and the types of jobs you're offering, you've got really a whole spectrum of jobs and wages. So you've got a lot of people coming in, taking a variety of them. In this case, they're coming in, the highest shares, those people that make over $75,000 a year. Again, these are per person wages, not households. What does that mean for housing? As people come in here with those kind of wages, they're going to be able to afford, obviously, higher end product. That's going to drive demand. We factored that in. I'll show you that at the end of this presentation. And this is your commuters now. So I showed you where people are coming in and out when they move. This is now people commuting in. Again, this is just one slide or one table of many that we have in the study. Some incredibly fascinating stuff. But what I wanted to show you here was, you can see Cabarrus County relative to the others. Workforce flow, meaning those people that either moving or coming in every day or coming out. Did you realize about 81,000 people work in the county overall? 55,000 of those are not residents of your county. So you have, what is that, 2/3 of your workforce don't live here. Why is that relevant to housing? Well, one, because you don't have very much housing. I know a lot of residents, a lot of workers that come here would move here if you had housing that was available and affordable to them. 67%, that's a high share relative to this region, but also to other markets we studied. What I don't have in this slide, but it's in the study, I looked at Concord's numbers. You have, out of 54,000 people that work here, 45,000 of them commute here every day from outside the city. So most of your workforce does not live here. That's relevant to economic development, right? They come here, they earn wages in your community, whether it's the city or the county, and maybe they get gas, and maybe they spend some money at lunch, but they're taking that money out of here, right? This is revenue for this county, the opportunity to grab some of these people. Well, why don't they live here? Well, in most cases, it's because, some don't because of whatever reason, but many of them, it's because of housing, the lack of housing or lack of affordable housing. Just a couple quick tables. This is from the Census Bureau. We do have data that we collected, but I wanted to start off with just some housing data from the Census Bureau. And this is what's called substandard housing. So this is a federal definition. And it's basically the two sets that are kind of towards the middle and to the right of this table. It's either overcrowded housing or, believe it or not, folks, we got people living in units that lack incomplete plumbing or kitchen facilities in the United States. And Cabarrus County is no different. You have countywide, 2,700, almost 2,759 specifically, households that live in substandard housing. So these are people that are already here. So I mentioned all the growth that you have, all the household growth you're going to have, and what that means for housing. You also have people that are living in your county that live in substandard housing, and their housing needs should be at least considered as you think about how to address housing in the future. How about people spending money towards housing? See, at the bottom of that table, or sorry, bottom of that slide, I define, again, these are federal definitions, housing cost burden. So those are people that pay over 30% of their income towards their housing cost. Or severe housing cost burden. Believe it or not, people pay over 50% of their income towards their housing cost. Here in the county, Make sure that does say that, yep. Here in the county, you have 11,320 renter households and 1,200 owner households that are cost burdened. Again, paying over 30% of their income. That's considered excessive by the federal government standards. But you have almost 4,900 renter households, 4,000 owner households that are severe cost burden. They're spending over half of their income towards their housing costs. Again, if folks aren't concerned about housing, that's a private sector problem. That's a fair statement to make. But if you want to think about economic impact, the more people spend towards their housing costs, that is the less they have to spend on products, services that your community offers. So it does have an economic impact. Your shares of people that are severe cost burden, on the far right-hand side, I marked it in that yellow, 20% of renters, 6% of homeowners, so close to what the state average is, but nonetheless, you've got a lot of folks that are struggling financially to meet their financial requirements for housing. All right, to me, this is probably one of the most insightful pieces of data that we include in the study. It says 35 top occupations for the region. I couldn't fit 35 on this slide. The study itself has all 35 jobs. These are the top occupations in this region. And what we did was we put the typical wages in there, and then what can they afford to rent or buy. So I'll just run through the top one real fast so you understand what you're looking at. This is not in the order of the largest numbers or smallest. But nonetheless, retail salesperson, typical wage, $26,000, or at the lower quartile, meaning the bottom fourth, or at the median level, they would make about $30,000 a year. What can they afford to pay in rent? $670 at the lower quartile, $773 at the median. How about if they want to buy a home? $89,000 at that lower quartile, or $103,000 at the median. Anything you see in red, which is almost everything on there, it is all for all the home purchasing prices and most of the rentals. That means that housing does not exist or is not commonly available in the market. We use what the government defines as fair market rent. It's a two-bedroom rent. For Cabarrus County, it's $1,333. So that's what they're saying is a typical two-bedroom, a reasonable two-bedroom, which our data would support that as well. Look what those people can pay in rent, $500, $700, $800, $900. If you double that, because again, this is one wage earner, if you double that now, some of these people can't afford to live here. But what that's telling you, rentals, what that's telling you is you better have a second job or you better have another wage earner in the house to reasonably afford rent. Look at home ownership. You could double those wages at the median. So it's $103,000 a home that somebody could purchase. So double that, $206. The median home price in this area, $420. Triple it, quadruple it. So home ownership is really out of reach for the bulk of the workforce. These are not all the jobs, but these are the most common occupations for your area. And so this is telling you that your workforce is struggling financially. That's why you have people that are cost burdened or severe cost burdened, because housing prices and rents are out of balance with the wages that people earn, and ultimately they can put towards their housing costs. I'll go through these real quick because, again, this is region-wide data. We got information on through a survey with 65 stakeholders, again, community leaders such as yourself. We asked them a ton of questions. You're not expected to read the stuff on the right. That's just an example of what the pages look like. But we asked them several questions, just some of the highlights. What did you think that was needed for rentals or home prices? They commented on those, a $1,250 rent or lower, and then generally for sale housing under $200,000. Single-family homes, ranch style, low-cost fixer-uppers. When we asked them about issues that they thought the community was facing, limited availability, which you're going to see that in a second, lack of affordable housing, you saw the cost burden numbers, and then top priorities, new construction, clearing of blighted structures, and renovation of existing housing. How about your employers? If I had to cite another slide besides the wages by occupation and what people can afford, this might be another one. So we had input from 70 employers across the region. Some of the data is broken out, by the way. I'm not going to do that here today, but some of the data is broken out by each one of the counties. So if you wanted to see how your county responded. But I will tell you this, the responses of your employers were very similar to the other two counties. So similar themes came across. I'll just skip down because, I want to get through this in a reasonable time. The third bullet point, we asked them a question that says, is housing, specifically housing, is it impacting your business? And the answer was, and I didn't put it in here, but 75% of the employers said, yes, housing is impacting my business. How is it impacting them? Retaining employees, attracting employees, adding to their costs or expenses. The bottom bullet point, that one there, we asked the employers, would they hire more staff? If we could solve local housing issues, what is the likelihood that you would hire more people? 30% of the employers said, I would hire more if we could figure out how to solve our housing issues. And another one, I didn't put it in here, it's in the study, but I didn't put it on this slide. We asked, and this is specific to Cabarrus County, we asked employers their level of interest in being involved with housing in some capacity. You as an employer, would you want to be involved helping solving housing issues? 7.5% said yes, not a big number. 44% said maybe, it's a maybe. So there's an opportunity here. When we do these surveys in the past years prior to COVID, employers didn't have housing on their radar. There was other priorities. Once COVID hit, the country changed in so many ways, and housing was one of the things that got impacted. And now that has trickled into employers, and it's impacting their ability to run their businesses successfully. And so now employers are saying, I want to be part of the conversation. I would like to be part of the solution. So I would strongly encourage you all to think about bringing employers to the table. Again, just to speed up my time here, the big stuff from the residents, they mentioned the things like affordability, availability of housing, so nothing different than the data shows and some of the data I'm about to show you. The bottom bullet point is probably the most relevant one, at least that I wanted to point out, and it's interest in relocating to this region. So these are people, and I don't remember the number, how many were non-residents to the survey, but these are people that are not residents of your 3-county region. We asked them, would you move to this area? About 34% said yes. If you could get housing here that was affordable and available, I would move to this region. And Cabarrus County was the top county that everybody picked. 30% of those people said they would move here. All right, just a few slides then on Concord itself. Household characteristics. I talked about you're going to add about 2,800 households over the next 5 years. I wanted to show you in that right graph, top right, the distribution of households by age groups. And I mentioned that how many seniors you're going to have added over the years ahead. That's showing the share of Concord's households by different age groups relative to it says PSA, that's the region, or the North Carolina. So you're similar, but you're a little bit younger than the rest of the region and a little bit younger than North Carolina when you look at those that are under age 55. The bottom right graph, percentage change of households by those different age groups. Again, I talked about the changes. Concord's on the left-hand side. I know it's probably small for the audience to see, but Concord's on the left. The light blue is those under age 35. Gray is those between 35 and 54. And then the dark blue, no surprise, that's the older folks at age 55 and older. By the way, I am 55 and older, so when I say old folks, I'm counting myself in that number. But in the end, it's the age 55 group is the one that's going to grow the most. But one of the things that's different here than a lot of the markets that we study, and that is that under age 35 group. Congratulations, you're holding on to them, and you're going to expect it to grow. There are, I would say 90% of the markets I look at, if it's not a metropolitan area, they can't hold on to their young people. They cannot. They're heading to the cities all over the country. And so you are getting those younger people to come here, I suspect because of the job market and quality of life that is offered here. So you do have that. That will affect your housing needs as you all move forward. Again, numbers might be small for the audience here, but in the end, renter household growth, this is 3 points in time, Concord on the top, Cabarrus County on the bottom of that table. The 3 points in time are 2020, 2023, and then projected out to 2028. And then at the bottom of each one of those, it shows the change. Most of your growth, in fact, in this case, all of your growth in renter households are those, this is over that 5-year period up through 2028, will be among households that make $60,000 or more a year. So you are going to have a great influence on this growth of moderate to higher income households, and it's going to affect your housing needs as you move forward. But don't lose sight of lower income households. Those that make less than $30,000 a year will make up still 1 in 5 of your households in the year 2028. And as you see here in just a moment, the lack of available inventory to them, they will have a significant challenge. They have a significant challenge now, but they will also have one in the next few years. This is owner households, so it's the same thing, Concord on top, Cabarrus County on the bottom, 3 points in time. Where's all the growth? All your projected growth among owner households is going to be those that make over $100,000 a year. Now, that doesn't mean all the red is people leaving this area. It's people going to continue to move up the different income segments over time. but they're going to fill in, or at least influence that group that makes over $100,000 a year. That will impact what type of housing, for sale housing this community needs. That still doesn't mean you do not need more moderately priced for sale homes, because you got a lot of those renters that will transition into home ownership at some point in the years ahead. All right, market performance, real quick. This is this is basically the inventory of multifamily apartments. We surveyed, we surveyed about 150 in the 3-county region, which is where my staff actually calls the properties, interviews the managers, gets all kind of incredible information. In short, we had Concord showing on the left-hand side of that, Cabarrus County in the middle, the Tri-County region, the 3-county region on the far right-hand side. We broke it out by the 3 different types of housing in terms of affordability. So market rate would be the highest income, tax credit, which is that middle segment there, that serves households in your area about making $53,000 to $84,000 a year. And then government subsidized housing, which that serves anybody that makes less, generally, makes less than $53,000 a year. And so in the end, your occupancy rate for the market overall, you take all these combined, is about 94.8%. Is that good? Is that bad? That's a balance. That's a good number. It's a healthy number. If you are a property owner, you want that at 99, 100%. But for a market to be healthy, and that's what we're talking about, a housing needs assessment, you're right where you need to be. But because of all the growth you've got coming, you got to keep adding housing, or that occupancy rate's going to climb, and you're going to have challenges with people living in units again they shouldn't be in, paying too much towards their housing, and so forth. We looked at what else can you rent. If you can't rent an apartment, you can rent what's called a non-conventional rental, which could be a house, duplex, whatever it is. And we did it through the whole region. You have about 6,100, almost 6,200 of these in the city of Concord, making up more than half of your rental supply. We found that my staff's really good at what they do. So they looked diligently to find what was available. They found 102 that are available to rent. If I compare that to the almost 6,200 of these units, you come back with a vacancy rate of about 1.6% or 98.4 occupancy. So let's just use that number, 98.4 occupancy rate. That's good for the owners. That's not healthy for this market. You do not have a number of these units available for people to rent. And a lot of these rentals, most of them, depending on the bedroom type, range anywhere from $1,350 to $2,235. I can tell you a lot of your folks here, particularly your workforce, cannot afford those rents. So don't have a ton of apartments available. In fact, I'm just going to back up 1 second. If you look at those, the bottom, the government subsidized across everything, whether it's the city, whether it's the county or the region, all of that is full. Even the tax credit product, with a couple exceptions, I think you have 8 tax credit projects in Concord. 2 of them are underperforming for a variety of reasons. The other 6 are full with a wait list. So as we talk about, what options are available to people, affordable housing, there is not much available for apartments, and then for non-conventional rentals, there's not much available, period. But when you throw in the rents, a lot of this stuff is not affordable to much of your workforce. All right, available supply. We have a ton of information on historical. I'm not going to cover that tonight. This is what's available in the city of Concord. You have 265 housing units that are available to purchase. This would have been roughly April or so of this year. If I take those 265 units and compare that to all owner-occupied housing, you have what we call an availability rate, kind of like a vacancy rate for apartments. You have an availability rate of for sale housing of 0.9%, so less than 1%. Where do you want that to be? A healthy market, you want, again, owners, that's good. Lenders, this is good news. But for the market to be healthy, you want that to be about 2 or 3% vacant, and you're at 0.9%. So you're at least half of where you need to be, if not more so. So you have limited availability, but then check out those breakouts by price points on that graph. You have 5 homes available less than $200,000 in the city. 5 homes under $200,000. I looked at your historical sales that occurred between 2020 and 23. So homes sold in that 4-year period. Y'all sold 676 homes under $200,000. You will not sell 676 homes now. You got 5 left. In a lot of communities around the country, if I brought back, and if I was here 5 years earlier, and I did this graph, and then I showed them where they are today, the nation is going through this. Most of the nation, most of the markets, with few exceptions, anything under $200,000, it's gone. And now the next one that's shrinking around the country, and it's happening here, is that $200,000 to $299,000 one. If you bring me back, I suspect you brought me back in 3 years, and I did this study and presentation again, that one will be gone. So we have a serious housing challenge across the country. Concord, you're not alone. A couple other things we did, we looked at potential sites. We found 122 across the region. We found 26 here. We didn't go to the level of looking at access to infrastructure, is it in a floodplain, all those kind of things. But these were anything that was marketed as potential residential sites for development. You have 26, 21 of them were vacant parcels, 5 were existing buildings. So you do have sites here that could be built upon, and I suspect there are others. But what we were trying to get a sense of is there a city or one of the counties that we studied have a disproportionately low inventory of available sites? Is that a problem? And that's not the case. You do have sites, but then there's obviously other issues tied to residential development, including infrastructure capacity. You're not expected to read that table. Again, it's just an illustration of what's in the study. We looked at a lot of different programs, whether these were programs where the communities can access funding programs, whether these were for developers to access, or even some of them for residents. The point being, there is a lot of housing programs out there available that could be explored to be used to help solve housing issues. And then the numbers that we really ultimately was probably the most useful part, I would think, of our study, and that is, okay, how big is the need? So we did it for rentals, and we did it for sale housing. We broke it up by the different price points and income levels. So you could see the household income ranges that we used kind of near the top of that table, and then you could see where we broke it out by rentals, going across by the different rental ranges, and then did the same thing for sale housing and what kind of home prices. In the end, you had a need for about 2,600 rental units and about 4,200 for sale housing units over that 5-year period. So you're talking close to 7,000 units that are needed. Now, that does not mean that you need to build 7,000 units, but what it does tell you, and it at least helps you understand, do we have a greater need for rental housing, or do we have a greater need for sale? Is it at a certain price level? And so you can see where the numbers come back bigger for some segments versus others. So in the end, you have a broad housing need, right? You need housing for the lowest income households, but because all that growth of the higher income households, you are going to need housing that's going to meet their needs and their financial capacity to pay for that housing. So significant housing need here in the city, as well as the county and in the region that was included in the report. And then this is just basically a recap of everything. So I won't go back through this, but these basically talks about the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats to the area. So you have a lot of good things happening here, but you also have some potential challenges, particularly with the limited availability of for sale housing, and to some degree, a limited availability of rental housing. And then we did not do recommendations for individual communities or even the counties. So this is broad, it's for the whole region, but a lot of this stuff could be adopted within a municipality, including your own. With it, setting goals, you now have some numbers to work from. Where do you prioritize your housing, whether it's repairing what you have and making sure people can stay in the housing that they have, or building new housing. You have those types of numbers. Whether you develop your own specific municipal housing plan or do something on the county level, or I suspect the region, you could do that. Capacity building, this is a big task. Housing is a big challenge for every community. Government has limited capacity to do things. This is not a government-only problem. It's not the private sector only either. And so I think there's opportunities for collaboration. One of the things that we found out through the survey of stakeholders was, I think the top answer when we said, what is the thing that can be done to help solve issues? And they said, bringing groups together. So it means bringing the government together, bringing the employers together. I promise you, there's an opportunity here to get employers to the table and start having that conversation, because this is impacting them, absolutely. Getting nonprofit groups. You have the We Build Concord, right, that you all supported. Those are the kind of things that communities should be doing, so I commend you for that effort. They've made a dent, but it's a huge endeavor that they all face. Marketing the opportunities, again, I could talk about that stuff at length. Having a centralized housing resource center, a lot of people commented about that, and we agree that's something that you could develop if you wanted to, possibly on a regional level, if not here in the county. There are tons of things you could do policy-wise. I mean, I could sit and talk for an hour about all the different incentives and things that communities around the country do. If you're looking for a good example, right here in North Carolina, I always often point people to Asheville. It might not fit what you all want to accomplish here. Asheville's a different place, obviously. But if you just want to think of innovative ways of a community trying to think differently about addressing housing, I would at least point you to Asheville to explore that. And then supporting residential development in, closer you can to walkable areas. You've got the young people that's what they're looking for. So again, you're doing a good job of holding on to the younger persons in the county and in the city as well. But obviously, housing product will affect their decision-making. Same thing for seniors. You're going to want to think about that product that would appeal to seniors as they want to downsize, or even as their health maybe gets worse over time as they age. What kind of housing do we need to have for that? We did not study senior care housing, by the way, as part of the study. So that is it. I know I threw a lot at you, but I promise you this is a sliver of what's in that report. It's a big report, a lot of good information. And with that said, I'll open it all back up to you.
All right, thank you. Council, questions, thoughts?
I don't
Yes,
not necessarily have any questions, but there's a lot of good information, very insightful. I'm just wondering now, where are we here in the city of Concord? I know we're doing some good things and trying to move forward, but it sounds like we've got more work to do in terms of housing. So thank you. I hope it'll be a catalyst, a foundation for a conversation to start between staff and council. Thank you.
I do have one question.
Yes, sir.
You use Buncombe County, Asheville, but I see a lot of numbers coming from there down to here.
Yes. Well, those numbers you saw is both ways, right? So they're
Right.
either going here or there, so you have a lot of mobility. I know we did a 18-county study of Western North Carolina in 2020. And one of the things we learned was because of affordability issues that Asheville was having, and still has today, it was pushing people out. And so it was pushing them into adjacent counties, and some probably are coming this far. Now, again, it could be the job market here, many other reasons they would come. But yeah, you got people that are coming out of Buncombe County, despite the fact that Asheville has added a lot of affordable housing. I went informally, looked back to see, I think in 2014 was when Asheville got really serious. And when you see how much affordable housing they built, and when I say affordable, your area at 80% of median, which would be considered affordable by federal definition, that's $84,000 a year. So it's, well, keep that in mind. But I think Asheville added a lot of housing stock as best they could. Now, they did a lot of things. I won't waste your time, but they did, unless you want to ask me, they did a lot of things.
Been up there.
Okay, they've done a lot financially to figure out to put resources. They just picked that as one of their goals. And so they made a dent, but they're struggling just like everybody else today with the same challenges.
Any more questions? All right.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you
Good luck
very
to you.
much.
Yep.
Moving on to departmental reports, Parks and Recreation bond update.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Call on Sheila to provide the update to council on the bond package. So Sheila, if you would.
Are you going to change it for me?
I took that, so. you want me to do it?
I appreciate it. Good evening, Mayor, members of council, Mr. Payne, Ms. Kolchinsky, Ms. Deason, when she comes back. Tonight, I'll provide the bond update for June. The financial information at this time has not changed. You will start seeing a change in this once we go out to bid and we bring those bids back to council for adoption. First, we'll talk about Dorton Park. I want to review the timeline. When the project was first bid out, the deadline or the time for the park was the end of October this year for the project to be finished. When council decided to adjust the restroom and expand the existing restroom, that added 4 to 5 months to the project. We're anticipating and still on projection to finish either the end of February, end of March, which is that 4 to 5 month, as I get information, as we move through the project and through the construction, I'll be glad to provide updates to council as I have them each month. If you can see to the left, we are ready to add the prefab bridges into the two areas. The bridges will be delivered on June 25th. Weather permitting, they will be installed. The top right corner is the construction at the tennis courts. The bottom right is the construction to expand the existing parking lot. Next, at the top right is the expansion of the existing restroom, and at the bottom right, and you can see the mounds of dirt. That is dirt that was brought up from the stream restoration. That's going to be repurposed. We will be raising the large sports field 4 inches to help with the flooding, 4 inches, and we'll be replanting what's called Bermuda tough turf on that field. The picture to the left is this bank erosion that we're continue to design for this project. That's north of the park near the trail along Cottle Creek. Next is Marvin Caldwell Park. We are preparing bid documents for this project. We had 2 public meetings. One was May 20th, that was at the Logan neighborhood meeting, and May 23rd, that was on site in the park. The public feedback that we received, everyone is very excited for what they saw, and they are can't wait for it to happen and be reopened. If you look at the top right, that's a conceptual plan of what the playground, we received a bond for an inclusive, accessible playground as a part of this project for the city. This will be that unit that you see. That's a conceptual. And in the bottom right will be an area that will be targeted for what's considered quiet play, for kids that need to be in the shade and need to be to engage in a different way other than play on a traditional playground. Next is the J.E. Jim Ramsor Park. The driveway utility plan has been approved and submitted to our consultant has it. The next, he will, STV, who's working for our consultant Woolpert, will submit that to NCDOT. And then once NCOD gives us the driveway permit, then we'll be able to enter this park into the city's Excella program. Once it's submitted in there for final approval, we'll be able to begin bid documents. So we're moving forward as fast as we can. We will be scheduling a public update meeting for this project at the athletic fields for the community on July 17th at 6 p.m. Next is Hartselle Park. We continue with design for this park. We also continue to work on replacing the restroom building that was damaged due to fire at the Hartselle Park. We will be replacing that back with the existing footprint with a prefabbed restroom building for that park. We are planning an update for the public for Hartselle Park in the fall, and we expect our first submittal to Excella for this park in July. Next is the Academy Gibson. Bids are posted. We will have a bid opening June 27th for this project. I hope to bring back the lowest bidder to council for approval in July or August. The plan is to move forward with this after the pool closes in August and start construction. We are going to provide an update at the Gibson Village neighborhood at their neighborhood meeting for a couple of the Academy Gibson parks on July 23rd at their meeting. Next is the Academy Gibson Skate Park Pump Track Sculpture Garden. This is like 2 projects in one. We had an update meeting for the public on June 6th. That picture you can see in the top right. Positive feedback for this. Again, we're going to go to the Gibson Village neighborhood meeting on July 23rd to provide the same information we provided on June 6th, But if you notice the picture to the left, this is the design that'll be for the pump track skate park and the sculpture garden. The picture to the bottom right is the plan for the bowl for the skate park. This is the sculpture garden piece of it. I added this slide so you could see the plan for the sculpture garden on the left. And again, just like the other projects, we'll be at the Village Neighborhood Meeting on July 23rd. The next project, we will also be at the Village Neighborhood Meeting, because all these were for the Academy Gibson area, is the athletic fields, and we continue design for this project. Next is the Dave Phillips Park. Design continues for this park. You can see we're at around 50% design for this park. You will see the design for the open aviary, that's to the left. The top right is the natural playground for this park, and the bottom right is the tree house for this park. This park's focus, if you can remember, will be based on environmental education and outdoor programming. Next is the Poplar Tent Trailhead Park. Again, this is an internal park. We are doing internally with engineering. We continue to work to have coordination with Duke Energy and for NCDOT. These are the last three projects. Wilson Street, again, will be an internal design project. We plan on beginning the end of this fall, starting design for it. WW Flow, the firm McAdams, has been selected to do this design. We plan on beginning design for that project and bringing it to council in 2025 to begin that process. And at this time, the Academy Recreation Center project, we have not selected a consultant to move forward with design for that project. And I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Sheila. Any questions from council?
I don't have a question. Well, I guess it is a question. Communication with our Afton area folks. Do we have a liaison, Lloyd, over there in that neighborhood? Are they providing that HOA when they attend that with, just a thought I had that it might be good to kind of share some of the things, the updates that we have and how the project is going, because it's uniquely situated in
Yeah,
that neighborhood.
what we did on June 6th for that open forum is the same information we will take. And we are on their agenda for the July 23rd meeting, which is their regularly scheduled neighborhood meeting.
Okay, just to give an update and the
Correct.
timeline update.
We're trying to touch as many people in as many ways as possible to make sure they are informed about the bond projects and have no questions. So as we move forward, those questions don't come back to council when we're getting ready to bid. Just trying to do our due diligence for the city.
Other questions? All right. Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you.
Downtown streetscape update.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think Kaylee and Paige are going to tag team this update to council as they typically do each month. So Kaylee?
Thank you, Mayor, members of council, Mr. Payne, Ms. Kolchinsky, and Ms. Deason. We'll get started on what they've been working on this past month with the construction update. So they, as you know, on May 20th, they did close the Cabarrus Avenue intersection. And that bottom picture on the left there you can see is when they were working on removing the road. They've also installed new valves and line stops on the northwest and east side of the intersection to isolate the water line so that they can start on the new water line work. Most of the infrastructure was complete south of Cabarrus Avenue, but they did have the 4-inch water meter vault by the Belk Building or 11 Union, which they've finished the installation of. The sewer laterals between the mid-block and Cabarrus will also be complete tomorrow, and 100% of the conduit has been complete. So we're getting very close to all that infrastructure truly being done, and then just the sidewalk work and roadway work. They're currently working on the 16-inch water main through Cabarrus Avenue. Show you in some pictures coming up with the drone images of some of the demolition that they're doing there. And their new priority, a little different than how we treated the sidewalk south of the mid-block, is to get that first 8 feet of sidewalk complete all the way up to Cabarrus Avenue. That'll help with the pedestrian access, having concrete down while they work on the rest of the sidewalks. And then next up, and some of this is ongoing as well, landscape and roof drains, soil cell installations, and then a retaining wall that's on the east side of Union Street. So looking at, these are actually images that'll be in the blog post tomorrow from this past week. Anything from excavating for the new landscape drains to form work for the sidewalks. There you can see the line stop and new 16-inch valve up near Killarney, as well as the new conduit installation that they worked on finishing up this week. And in our aerial images, starting up by the intersection, this is where they started working on demo within the intersection, as well as utility locates for there's an electric vault in there that they're working around. Other things to point out, they've got the orange cones you can kind of see helping direct pedestrians throughout the work zone south of the Cabarrus intersection. And then here on the left of the screen, it's a little bit in shadow, but you'll see where they've done the form work and where they'll be doing the sidewalk pours starting Monday of next week. They're also, you can kind of see a better image of the path that they're leading pedestrians to avoid that area. They're going to ramp to keep people be able to enter the businesses when they're pouring the concrete. So that will remain open. And then you can also kind of see how that first 8 feet on the left side has been poured, and they'll continue that up toward Cabarrus. And then looking the other way, just a good shot of kind of all the different projects happening. We continue to coordinate with the Novi project as well as the courthouse during construction, and those are lining up pretty well too. Weekly updates on the website, as always. We have updated the map a little bit more than just once a month as these changes happen, with the intersection being closed, with some of the parking being available again on Spring Street and Market Street as Novi Rise finishes. And no change here, just wanted to kind of review the sequence of the project, working in the intersection while concurrently sidewalk and roadway improvements occur south of Cabarrus. That local access is open. We've got signs up so people can continue to use the library entrance and to get to the parking deck as well on Union Street North. Moving ahead, once they get through the intersection to that next and final zone for the infrastructure work, and following it up with the roadway improvements, as well as working on that courthouse side once they get their construction fencing moved. And then same thing, kind of finishing up with roadway, and then at the end, that final layer of asphalt and landscaping. And with that, I will pass it to Paige.
One question. Go back one slide, please. What's going to happen to Market Street?
Market
Paving.
Street, the area that will get its final lift, but that's just where the parking spaces are, where they did the new storm drain. We had to sort of limit the amount of work being done on that road just for the project. So that's all that's within Sealand's contract.
Okay, thank you.
We have some exciting promotions happening in downtown currently. The Explore Cabarrus, the Convention and Visitors Bureau, has put together a great prize for those who shop and spend money in downtown. So they're giving away this Yeti cooler. They're working on filling it with things from downtown that they're purchasing, and they've included $200 worth of downtown dollars. So that's money that gets funneled right back into downtown businesses. So we're excited for that. Anyone who shops and has a receipt from spending that money in downtown can go to the visitor center and show that receipt, and they're entered to win. And this has been extended, I believe, to August 1st is when this will wrap up. So really appreciate their partnership from Explore Cabarrus. We have put together welcome bags. So these will be distributed to all of the different apartments within downtown Concord, so that as they have new residents move in, including the new Novi projects, as well as the existing apartments that we already have. As they have those new residents move in, they can receive a welcome bag with items from various downtown businesses. Some fun things that the Novi management group has put together. They've really been getting their residents activated in downtown. So they had a trivia night that they hosted over at the local bottle shop. And they even provided a $100 gift card as a prize to the winning team, whether they were from Novi or elsewhere. So that was a fun activity that folks participated in. They typically have trivia on Thursdays. So if you get out of this meeting in time, head on over. And then also they had a great appreciation breakfast for their residents and provided them breakfast on their way out or before they got started working from home, whichever was the case. We've got Christmas in July coming up. Cherie has been putting together a great schedule of events and working with a lot of the downtown businesses on some different activities that will be held throughout the day. That includes story time at Goldberry Books. They're working with Fire Engine 1 to come and bring the fire truck out to MacTabby. They were kind enough to do that last year, and it was a really big hit. They'll have letters to Santa over at High Grounds Coffee. The kids can write their letters to Santa. A farmer's market at the Lens. Photos with Santa when they drop off their letters. And Christmas karaoke over at the local bottle shop. And a Grinch Stole Christmas party at Little Roberts. So we'll be adding to the fun for the day and keeping everyone posted on what will be taking place, but looking for all the businesses to get involved, whether that be a special promotion, 10% off, get started on your shopping early, or just an opportunity to get out of the heat and come enjoy some things downtown. And of course, coming up on Monday is our next merchant meeting. We will be meeting in person at the Cabarrus Center at 9 a.m. A reminder email will go out to the downtown businesses tomorrow morning, and that will include some information about the sidewalk pours, and we'll have more information about that in person for the businesses who want to attend and get those updates. Also have branding updates. So lots of exciting things coming together that will be communicated at the merchant meeting on Monday. Any questions?
Any questions from council? All right, thank you very much. Moving on to recognition of persons requesting to be heard. Let me read this. This portion of the meeting is our time to recognize persons requesting to be heard and provide an opportunity for anyone wishing to address the city council to do so. Each person will receive 3 minutes to address the council. This is a time for listening for the council. The subject will be noted, and if required action or request, the city manager will note such and provide steps for any required response or after action. Please leave your contact information with the city clerk to facilitate communications. I have a number of individuals signed up, and I'll just go ahead and start. You'll have 3 minutes. So come forward, John Parker. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. My name is John Parker. I'm with CF Smith Property Group. Our address is 100 Magnolia Road, Pinehurst, North Carolina. Come before you tonight just to discuss an application we have in that'll be before you on the 25th. It is for sewer allocation for 2,700 gallons for the Concord Parkway retail development. This 4-acre development consists of a standalone McDonald's, a standalone Starbucks, a multi-tenant building with a Chipotle and dental office. This development is expected to cost approximately $16 million to develop. Should create approximately 115 jobs and generate just shy of $15 million a year in retail sales revenue. We'd like to thank you for your consideration of our application, and I'd love to answer any questions you might have.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Dan Guantier? I'm sorry. Could you pronounce your last name?
Gualtieri.
Gualtieri.
Gualtieri, yep.
Thank you. Welcome.
Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you for your time this evening. My name is Dan Gualtieri, and I'm with Crescent Communities based in Charlotte. Ahead of the sewer allocation meeting scheduled for June 25th, I'm here tonight to present a few notable updates to our project. Just summarizing our location, I think you guys are aware of our location that we've been through a few times now. Just north of the Bruton Smith exit off 85 on Weddington Road. Here is a site plan of our project representing the 3 phases. Just to remind you guys, we did obtain phase 1 sewer capacity back in 2020 before the sewer allocation policy that's currently in place was adopted. We have not started construction on that for a variety of reasons. One of the major reasons being that the infrastructure required to build phase 1 requires a second access point. Anything over 99 units requires a second access point. So since the allocation policy has been in place, we've requested sewer for our phase 2, which would allow us to move forward with the project, totaling 264 units. Some of the updates since the March meeting, we have reduced the phase 2 request from 165 apartments to 132 apartments to reduce our request from 16,875 gallons to 13,500 gallons. As I mentioned, due to the infrastructure required to develop phase 1, including the required spine road connecting Weddington Road and Reuben Linker Road, developing this phase on its own is not financially feasible. Securing the sewer capacity required for phase 2 would allow us to move forward and commence construction on the entire apartment project, representing 264 homes, which is represented by phase 1 and phase 2 together. It is our understanding that if we do not commence construction on phase 1 by October 2024, then the sewer capacity that we have allocated to phase 1 will revert back to Wasac and leave the city of Concord, which totals 16,570 gallons per day. City of Concord engineering staff have indicated that they are unwilling to grant an extension of this previously obtained sewer capacity unless we are able to secure our phase 2 sewer and move forward with the project. And our phase 3, which is the green area there, was previously planned as townhomes. We have since decided not to move forward with it right now because of the lack of sewer available for townhomes. And this just summarizes the points that I just walked through. Some of the greater community benefits, as it was mentioned today, there is a housing shortage. The project does bring new units to the community, representing.
Okay.
Is that 3 minutes?
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, okay, go ahead.
May I ask you one question? Can you go back to that map?
Sure.
You see how the phase 1, the green is drawn around the spine road and it looks like it comes into the amenity center? Is the amenities included in phase 1?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Yep,
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yep, sure thing.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thomas Hapapuro, am I close?
You're close.
Thank you.
Close enough. No one ever gets it right the first time.
Welcome.
Thank you. All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm Thomas Hapapuro, as you mentioned. So I'm not the first person to come up here talking about sewer allocation. So I'm with Middleburg Properties. I'm with Design Resource Group. We have an application in the queue for a vote on sewer allocation as well. I wanted to take a brief moment of your time to explain the vision we have for the property and how we feel this meets the needs of the community, particularly based on things discussed earlier. We create unique housing opportunities for people that first and foremost focuses on creating traditional people-first neighborhoods that build community and provide a much-needed space for the missing middle. The homes are all uniquely detailed to create the charm of bungalows and cottages. They also range in size to provide a range of options for people of all needs and allow people to move from one housing type to another within the same community as their needs evolve, i.e. townhomes, duplexes, and cottages. Many have front porches so neighbors get to know each other. Each front porch faces on a sidewalk that creates an extensive network of pedestrian routes that lead from the homes to a series of mini parks, central greens, and into the natural areas. Cars are pushed to the background so that people can enjoy the community. Instead of a series of driveways slicing up the streetscape, parking is pushed into common parking areas that are close to the homes but not dominant in the landscape. We've also provided kind of a packet in front of you. We didn't pull it up on the screen, but that's kind of representative of our proposal and where our site is, by the way.
Is this yours?
That's ours, yep.
Thank you.
Unique to the site are streams and the existing pond and large stands of mature trees. We feel these items are a benefit to the community, and we want to create or benefit to the community we want to create, so we are preserving a significant, meaningful amount of this treasure. Further, our trail network will allow residents to also enjoy these spaces so they become part of the fabric of the community itself. For the surrounding neighbors that already exist, our future neighbors, we will of course be providing buffering between our communities. But since our community will also be a mixture of residential home styles, these communities will naturally blend together. As part of our development, we would create a new community street that will stitch together Winecroft School Road and Parkwood Drive Northwest, allowing residents of that existing neighborhood to have more direct, convenient access than exists today. There are many factors that the board must take into consideration when determining sewer allocation. We understand that, but wanted to share our vision of the high-quality, low-density, community-based neighborhood we would create should the board decide to vote yes on our infrastructure needs. With that, I conclude my presentation.
Okay.
Questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Judd McAdams? Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council members. I appreciate the opportunity to appear before you again. I'm Judd McAdams with Real Estate Development Partners in Charlotte. I am the development partner and business partner with the Coble and Needham families on the south quadrant of George W. Lyles Parkway and Poplar Tent. And how do you turn this on?
And what is the name of your project?
It is, on your packet, it's Poplar Crossing Commercial.
Thank you.
It's PSA 2024-00054.
Thank you.
Here, just to refresh you, and you can't really see this well, but this is Poplar Tent, George W. Lyles, and that's the food line that we developed in 1996. And this is our third request for the sewer for this project. We're only asking for 2,600 gallons. We're doing a Chase Bank and a Culver's Restaurant. And they're all part of the master plan that we started 25 years ago with this property. And on this little map right here, you can see the red line around that quadrant of the intersection. That is all Poplar Crossing. That is what we've developed over the past 25 years, starting with Food Line. And, but I've talked to you about the restaurants before, the Culvers, and they're going to talk to you in a minute, and the Chase Bank. This master plan we started, we worked it very diligently to get the uses that we wanted to provide to the community. And I hear the housing need and the retention of population, the drawing of population, goods and services and quality goods and services are very, very important to a community. So with our Food Line grocery, which is one of the highest volumes in their stores, in the highest volume stores in the system, speaks well to this community, but we wanted to add more things. We started with Atrium Health, and our healthcare, we've got quite a large healthcare component. We developed Atrium Health down on Poplar Tent Road, and we also have Medicat Pharmacy. We've got Dr. Patel General Dentistry, and we've got Novant Health now, Urgent Care, who's joined our shopping center. We also developed with Valor School, the charter school, which is right here. Goodwill, that was the second thing we developed there. Goodwill celebrates their 15th anniversary tomorrow morning. It's the highest volume Goodwill in their 35-store chain. And so between that and the other uses that we've got in the community, we've provided a lot of varying uses for this community. These are two small users, a bank and a restaurant, and they don't require a lot of service, a lot of sewer capacity, but they do round out more of the uses we're trying to bring into this little quadrant right here that's been a good servant to the community. So thank you for the opportunity again, and I'd be glad to take any questions.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chase Irvin?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Chase Irvin. I'm here kind of piggybacking off of Joe McAdams on the Poplar Crossing property. I will be the owner-operator of the Culver's Restaurant that we are proposing to go in that location. I've spoke with you 2 times in the past, and I just kind of want to reiterate, born and raised just a few minutes from the proposed site. So hometown, and I'm really looking forward to this opportunity. I chose Culver's because it really shares my morals and values with the way, the great food, great hospitality, great customer service, and it's a way for me to be able to give back to the community and the city that raised me, right? With obviously bringing jobs to the city. Very successful, in the past with Culver's, looking about 80 jobs, team members up to full-time management career opportunities. I have 2 children that are in the school system currently, so I'm super big on fundraisers and getting with the athletic departments of the local schools, being able to reach out to local farmers any way possible to just make sure that we're getting ourselves out in the community, and building our brand and building our customer base and touching our customers and really giving back to them. That's the main thing here, is to obviously have a successful business, but to make relationships and really just become part of this community. And that's how you're ultimately going to have a successful business. So, I really appreciate you guys' time. I will just want to make sure you guys know how much this means to me, to my family, to Culver's. So once again, thank you all so much for hearing me, and look forward to being a part of this business in Concord. Thank you guys so much.
Just for clarification,
Yes,
is
sir.
is your location inside of Poplar Crossing, or is it a separate location?
It's on the, I'm piggybacking off the property Mr. McAdams spoke about.
Just making sure.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Dino Palella, is that close?
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Thank you so much for your time this evening. My name is Dino Palella. I own the Culver's in Belmont, North Carolina. We've been open about 1 year and 2 months. I'm just here to tell you tonight a little bit about Culver's and Chase Irving. Culver's is a great family restaurant. We hate to call ourselves fast food or quick service because that's not who we are for anyone who's ever been there before. We have a wide menu. Everything is made fresh to order. The company started in Wisconsin in 1984. They started franchising in 1994. There's about 1,000 units across the United States and about 15 in North Carolina right now, and growing very strong. We believe our core values are people, quality, and community. It's about the people we hire, the people we serve, quality food. Everything at Culver's is made to order. Nothing is ever made prepared ahead of time. It's not frozen, it's fresh meat. It's just a better quality food that families can go and enjoy. Our menu is there for everyone, from salads to burgers to our great custard. If anyone here has ever had Culver's before, it is a fantastic restaurant, and our biggest thing is being part of the community. And who better than Chase Irving, who is grown up in this area his entire life. He's been with us for about 5 years in our group, and his restaurants that he's been in charge of have won awards and accolades from corporate, Restaurant of the Year, Newcomer of the Year. So he has done a fantastic job representing our group and giving us all those accolades, again, and being one of the best Culver's in North Carolina that he runs right now in Charlotte. And this will be his own, and I can't say enough about him or the brand itself and what we want to really bring to the community, and who better again than Chase to integrate Culver's with the community of Concord. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sandra Kusi? I'm trying. Casey. Thank you.
You all might remember me because I've been writing letters. Here are some handouts for you. If you all are interested. My name is Sandra Cusick. I am here today about the taxes that you all are getting ready to increase so tremendously. I know that you have said that you are decreasing the tax rate from 46 cents to 42 cents. But my understanding is that our home values have all increased at least 20%, and some people have increased by up to 50 and 60%. I gave you the 3 charts to show how rent has increased while income has decreased. That's the first one in the upper left-hand corner. The consumer price index that shows how bad inflation has been. And finally, the percent of spending reductions. A whopping 44% of people's eating out, they're going to reduce that, versus 18.5% of people who have no plans to reduce spending at all. I urge you to reconsider this budget, which has gone from $250 million in 2019 to a whopping $353 million for 24-25. That's $100 million in 6 years. That's insane. With all of the new construction of apartment buildings and businesses, Pitt School Road, the Kannapolis Parkway, the Eli Lilly plant, you all are getting enough money from all of these places. We need property tax relief. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions?
Thank you very much. Brent Edmondson.
Hey, good evening, Mr. Mayor. Member of City Council, hey, good evening. All this food talk, I'm getting a little bit hungry, so I'll try to make this quick. Okay, my name's Brent Edmonston. I had the pleasure to serve as the development manager for Chick-fil-A in the Atlantic region. I'm here tonight just to respectfully request your consideration for a sewer allocation for a new restaurant located at the northeast corner of Copperfield Boulevard and Vine Haven Drive, address 1015 Vine Haven Drive, actually. This project is proposed to be a self-developed Chick-fil-A project at 1.86 acres, close to 5,200 square feet, with 70 parking spaces, 70 indoor seats, and up to 20 outdoor seats. Our sewer allocations request for 1,800 gallons, and just wanted to identify a few other key items about our project. This will be our 4th freestanding restaurant in the city of Concord. We currently employ over 450 people across the city of Concord at our in a mall location and our existing restaurants. This proposed restaurant will serve the northern side of the city of Concord. And also just want to make a note around our continued investment in the city and Cabarrus County with the construction of our $58 million distribution facility that will open this coming fall. That will also create 112 new jobs. And that new distribution center will serve this proposed new restaurant location. This proposed project will be a commercial development of an existing vacant commercial property on an existing commercial corridor. And currently our team is completing physical due diligence of the property. If sewer allocation is approved, we will move forward with completion of plans, building drawings for permit submission, and have a tentative schedule to commence construction in the summer or fall of 2025. In closing, Chick-fil-A respectfully requests that sewer allocation be approved for this project at the June 25th sewer allocation meeting. And just want to thank the city of Concord for continued partnership and consideration. Can I answer any questions?
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Okay, I have 3 individuals dealing with Roycroft. Larry Shearer. I'm sorry. I just.
Close enough.
I'm trying to read your writing and it's.
Oh, that's Mr. Ullman back there. We'll talk
okay.
about him in a minute.
Okay.
Now, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. Mr. Manager, Mr. Attorney, members of council, my name is Larry Shaheen. I'm an attorney at the McIntosh Law Firm at Davidson, address 209 Delbert Street, Suite 203 in Davidson, North Carolina, 28036. I'm here tonight to represent Stanley Martin Homes and their Roycrofts community that's going to be right there off Low Store Road.
And I wanted to come and bring you some good news that Bob Bennett, who's here today representing them, and Zach Allman from our team are very excited to be able to talk to you about some of the changes that have been made and some of the things that have been done to help be able to gather your support to be able to see a supportive allocation on the 25th of June meeting. Most recently, that request was amended to 15,000 gallons, which represents about 50 homes. But let me tell you about those 50 homes. Those 50 homes are going to be primarily what you heard about tonight. They're going to be workforce housing. They're going to start at the price points of the low 300,000s, but they're not going to be vinyl villages. It's going to be fantastic homes that we think that your first responders and your folks here who work in the community will be able to attain and to have. In fact, Stanley Martin has a program. They call it Homes for Heroes. Teachers, firefighters, and military will receive a $10,000 discount off of the purchase price if they choose to decide to live in a Stanley Martin home and community. Now, of course, the community is much larger than that, as you all well know, 368 lots, which represents a significant investment and partnership with the city of Concord. But of course, that partnership means more to the folks at Stanley Martin than it does, I think, to others. Let me give you a couple examples. Stanley Martin has been able to finalize all issues with their plans. There is nothing outstanding. They're planning to run 3.5 miles of water line to help make sure that the water is going to be able to get to that project. They just finished up that last thing today. So the only item preventing the awarding of allocation is the actual sewer allocation. The neighborhood, as we talked about, is designed to be dedicated for workforce housing. The first 50 lots will be in the front portion of that community, and they're going to be something that I think the entire community can be proud of. But of course, as you all may or may not know, Stanley Martin has already decided to help dedicate a library, but there are 10 lots that Stanley Martin has dedicated in their most recent allocation to be used for economic development. Be that a library, be that a need that the city has. Stanley Martin has gone ahead and said that that's something that they want to do. And again, of course, of the 43% of the total lot count within that development, which is going to be done in several phases, as per Ms. Monterey Adams, who has been just fantastic to work with. We're trying to make sure that this is meeting the needs that you just heard on your housing requirement. We need to be able to meet that need, and we want to work with you, and Stanley Martin wants to work with you to help achieve that need. So, of course, we are here, of course, to come before you tonight to ask for that allocation, and if there are any questions, we're prepared to answer them. But we ask that you partner with us today to help bring this housing, which is desperately needed, here to the city of Concord. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Zach Allman?
We're good.
So you don't have anything to add? Okay. Thank you very much. That completes my list. Does anyone like to speak that hadn't signed up? All right. Thank you very much. So that completes our recognition of persons requesting to be heard. Thank you all for being here. We're moving on to public hearings. The first one, conduct a public hearing and consider adopting an ordinance annexing 12.16 acres. Is there a motion to open the public hearing? So moved. Motion is second. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you very much. All right, let me see. I have 3 people signed up as proponents. William Eisenhower.
And I'm going to let Suzanne Todd go first. She's also signed up.
Suzanne Todd. I think we already have. They went on Tuesday. Right.
Mayor, council members, I'm Suzanne Todd, attorney with Johnson Nelson Horton, Charlotte. My address is 1065 East Moorhead Street. And I am here tonight with my partner, William Eisenhower, also with Johnson Nelson Horton, as well as our client, Heather Flannery. She is CFO of the petitioner, R.S. Matco, in our voluntary rezoning application. I'm sorry, voluntary annexation application. We'll get to that rezoning after this. Just want to, we've been working with Autumn James with your planning staff, and she's done a great job navigating us through this process. This is property that's at the corner of Highway 49 and Stowe. It's not Stowe Road. And it is approximately 12 acres that R.S. Matco has under contract at the moment. R.S. Matco is a boiler tube supplier. So they are currently in Oakboro, North Carolina, and they're looking to relocate. They're outgrowing their facilities, so they want to come here. If all goes well, They will plan on developing the property for a supply inventory storage facility that will have an office component to it. For initial plans are for a 51,000 square foot building with plans to double that in the future. So that's why they've got a big piece of property they're looking at. This property will receive, or the facility when built will receive inventory, it'll store it, and then eventually it will be shipped to customers as needed. So I don't know if you've got any questions. I know you have a 13-page agenda tonight, so I will respect your time and just make ourselves available for any questions.
Council? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. Heather Flannery?
We're through.
Okay. Now, I have no one else signed up as proponents or opponents against anyone I speak in regards to this item. There's nobody to speak in regard to this item, so back to council to close the public hearing. Is there a motion? A motion second. Ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. Right. Back to council for a recommendation.
I'll move for approval that we consider the motion to adopt the annexation.
Got a motion and second. Any further discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you very much. That's approved. Item number 2, conduct a public hearing to consider adopting an ordinance amending a historic handbook. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Okay. I'll second. Got a motion and second. Ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. Okay. As far as anyone speaking for or against this, I have nobody signed up. Is there anyone like to speak in regards to this item? There being no one who wants to speak, I will go ahead and ask for the council to motion to close the public hearing. Got a motion and second. Ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. All right, back to council for a recommendation.
So this is going to be a two-step process.
Okay.
Because it's an ordinance, we need to do a statement of consistency. The statement of consistency is before you. The first 2 bullet points are if you are leaning towards adopting the amendments, and the last bullet point would be exchanged for the second one if you are leaning towards rejecting the amendments.
All right. Council, what is your recommendation?
I'll move to approve the first 2 and the statement of consistency.
Okay. Motion is second. Ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you very much.
And then the final step is to adopt or not adopt the proposed revisions.
Is there a motion to adopt the proposed revisions? Got a motion and a second. Ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you very much. Item number 3, conduct a public hearing pursuant of NC General Statute 15912 to receive a public comment relative to a proposed budget. Is there a motion to open the public hearing? So moved. Motion is second. Ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. Okay, thank you very much. No one else has signed up to speak for that. Is there anyone, again, wants to speak in regards to this? Okay, our city manager has some comments before we close the public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So Mayor, members of council, it's my honor this evening to present the proposed fiscal year 2024-2025 annual budget for your consideration and adoption. This budget invests in essential services, funds vital infrastructure projects, and provides the foundation for the high quality of life that has earned us recognition as an excellent place to live. Special thanks goes out to Assistant City Managers LaDerrick Blackburn, Josh Smith, and Marcella Beam, along with all of the city's department heads, and specifically the budget team, Leslie Reeder, Amanda Newton, and Grant McMillan, for their efforts in this process. Each year, Team Concord works together to provide recommendations that will operationalize your priorities. I am confident you will find the proposed budget does just that. North Carolina counties are required by law to reassess property values within their boundaries at least every 8 years, though many choose to do this in 4-year cycles. That is the case here in Cabarrus County. This process is commonly known as revaluation. During revaluation, all real estate parcels are reviewed to determine their current market value. That data is used to calculate a tax rate that would result in the same property tax revenues as the prior year. This tax rate is adjusted for growth that has occurred since the previous cycle. This calculation results in what is known as the revenue neutral rate. Although the revenue neutral rate generates the same amount of property tax revenues in total, it does not necessarily mean that an individual property owner's tax contribution will remain the same. An individual's tax bill depends on a combination of the recommended tax rate and the property's new value. Per the Cabarrus County Tax Collector's Office, the city's updated assessed property values are $23,171,790,000, which is a 46.28% increase over the previous year. 1 cent of the property tax rate equals $2,295,423 after the city's collection rate of 99% is applied. The citywide budget totals $353,849,526 for all funds, including utilities and special revenue funds. This is an overall budget increase of 9.02% over the fiscal year 2024 adopted budget. The recommended general fund budget for FY 2025 is $150,303,310 with a tax rate of 42 cents per $100 of valuation. This is a decrease of 6 cents from the current tax rate. Reducing the rate to 42 cents returns the city to the property tax rate that was in place from 2008 to 2012. As you know, the 48-cent tax rate has been in effect since 2013. Departmental budget requests this year limit personnel additions, hold the line in operational cost, and reduce capital requests when possible. The cost associated with funding essential operations and meeting your strategic priorities drive the recommended tax rate. This budget funds council's highest priorities, including parks and recreation, affordable housing, transportation, rebuilds our general fund balance, and provides competitive compensation for our coworkers. Since fiscal year 2021, City Council has appropriated 2.5 cents of the property tax rate for the Transportation Improvement Fund, 1 cent for Parks and Recreation projects, and 1 cent for affordable housing construction, allowing the city to focus our efforts in these crucial areas. To build upon the progress we have made and demonstrate our continued commitment to these priorities, I'm recommending an increase in funding for each priority. Furthermore, I'm proposing to transition the funding for these priorities from amounts that are based on the value of 1 cent of the property tax rate to fixed dollar amounts. $4.4 million of funding will be dedicated to the Transportation Improvement Fund, and $1.8 million each will go to affordable housing and parks and recreation. Providing a fixed amount of funding will ensure a stable source of revenue to help the city plan for projects in the years to come. This budget continues to meet your goal of maintaining 30 to 35% of general fund balance despite the $9.35 million paid directly from fund balance as our portion of the recent Ronnie Long settlement. Fiscal year 2025's budget includes the first year of a 4-year plan of dedicated contributions to rebuild our fund balance to the level recommended by the State Treasurer's Office for communities our size. In addition, this budget recommendation includes funding for capital projects to enhance the quality of life for our residents. I'm proposing to utilize $387,288 from the General Fund Capital Reserve for the construction of the initial phase of the Clark Creek Greenway Cox Mill Loop. Additional details on this project and many others are contained within the full budget document and in your CIP. This proposal also creates the city's first debt service fund, beginning with a contribution of an amount equal to 3 cents of the tax rate to cover the general obligation bonds for the park projects you heard Sheila talk about earlier. Setting aside this funding will help the city be proactive in its debt commitments now and in the years ahead. With garbage, recycling, and yard waste collection provided by city staff, our solid waste services team continues to find ways to provide prompt and reliable service. This year, the city is implementing a yard waste collection limit of 6 cubic yards. My proposal increases the solid waste fee to $4 per month to help cover increasing yard waste, limb collection cost, increase compliance activities, and assist with needed technology upgrades. No residential or commercial base rate increases are anticipated for water, stormwater, or wastewater. despite a $2.4 million increase in our wastewater treatment costs to pay for our portion of the debt service for plant improvements made by the Water and Sewer Authority of Cabarrus County. Concord Electric continues to follow the recommendations from their recent rates and charges analysis. Rates continue to be adjusted to better align with the cost of providing service. Recommended rate changes will work together with a reduced purchase power adjustment to build a structure that can better adapt to the conditions within the electric industry. In October, the city worked with ETC Institute, a national market research firm, to gather feedback from residents about their experiences living in Concord. Of course, council heard that presentation Tuesday at the work session. The results from the survey show that overall residents are highly satisfied with the quality of customer service and with the quality of city services. 84% of survey residents reported satisfaction with the overall quality of customer service they received from city employees, and 82% were satisfied with the overall quality of city services. When compared to national benchmarks, as you saw, Concord ranks significantly higher than other cities around the nation. Our employees are our most important resources and are vital to the city's commitment to excellent service for our residents. In addition to surveying our residents this year, the city also worked to gather feedback from city staff. This past fall, the city partnered with the University of North Carolina School of Government to survey employees about their experiences working for the city. Employee compensation and benefits were some of the major themes that emerged from their responses. In addition to the increases implemented with the adopted compensation study earlier this year, I'm proposing a 3% cost of living increase for all staff effective July 8th, and an additional 1 to 4% merit increase based on their performance. Team members who complete career development requirements will receive an additional 1.5% upon successful completion. I'm also proposing to increase the current 401k city contribution for non-sworn law enforcement personnel by 0.5% to ensure that all city employees are receiving a set 5% contribution, which is required for sworn law enforcement officers. This provides a more equitable benefit to all of city staff. This budget will add only 3 new full-time employees to meet the growing needs of our city, bringing the total number of authorized positions for the city to 1,263 people. My proposed budget provides the resources to meet the needs of our residents in the upcoming fiscal year, while also being proactive should changes arise. It positions the city to responsibly handle growth while continuing to provide the high quality of life that distinguishes Concord as one of the best places to visit, raise a family, and start a business. We must all work together to meet this goal. This budget provides Team Concord with the resources to do this each and every day for our citizens, your citizens. I ask for your consideration and adoption of the proposed fiscal year 2024-2025 budget. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
All right, thank you. Any question from council? Okay. John, do you have anything?
Number a question or comment, if it's okay, appropriate at this time.
Sure. We're
You know,
still
we-
in open.
We challenge Lloyd, his department heads and his teams to come forward with a balanced budget. Again, through many struggles that, economics, et cetera, they did a great job with that. We as Concord want to continue to be a leader as a community and also as a driving force for others to benchmark against. So I really do like the way that this budget had come up around. We're taking care of our citizens, giving them the standard of services they've come adjusted to. At the same time, we're taking care of, as you said, Lloyd, our most important asset. And the most important thing that we have is our workers, our team members, our department heads, and our staff. So with that in mind, they have the dedication, the experience, and they have the background that we need and we need to obtain and keep. So I appreciate the budget, Lloyd, and what you've done with it.
Andy?
I would move that we adopt the budget that's been presented.
Okay. We need to close the public hearing
Excuse me.
before we go any further. Go ahead.
I'm going to piggyback off of John and just say, you mentioned the word priorities, and I think when we started talking budget, we realized that when you set priorities, there are trade-offs that have to be made. And I'm very proud of Tuesday night, I listened to the city survey. Number one thing was transportation, right? This evening, we listened to the home report. Number one thing was housing. Parks and Rec was on the bond, citizens voted for it, that's also. So I feel as if we've taken the priorities and not only, we've gone out to the citizens to say, identify those priorities for us, which is a really important part of our job. This is not our decisions, these are the decisions of our citizens. And I will piggyback off John. Our people are our most important asset. And I am proud of the budget and I'm proud to support it. So thank you.
Is there a motion to close the okay, go ahead.
Any questions, just comments? I pretty much agree with everything that John and Jennifer has shared already. You know, managing and putting together a budget that matches up with what Jennifer, like Jennifer said, your priorities. Sometimes that's difficult to do, but Lloyd, you and your team got it done, and I appreciate that, so thank you.
And it's a long process. Long process.
So I'll make my comment. Lloyd's summary of how we got here, it was very helpful. I think what is not seen in this is we began these conversations 6 months ago. And we've had some good, hard, honest conversations with one another. And as Jennifer said, this does reflect the priorities that we identified, that the community has identified, and I'm going to be very proud to support this budget.
And I think one thing's very important to make sure this out is that our citizens voted and approved our $60 million bond package, which included a statement that it would increase our tax about 3 cents. And add that to the Ronnie Long settlement, that's 4.5 cents about, correct? So that was going to be in our budget, even when you go back to revenue neutral.
I think it's also important to remember there were trade-offs that were made,
Yes.
right? Because we do have the responsibility of making sure that this is not I mean, I'm sure the staff can say that when you're preparing budgets, you're like, I'm sure they walk in Lloyd's office and he's like, nope, 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 right? Or go back. This is where it has to fit, right? Betty's talked about that a lot. And so I think it's important to recognize too, with the priorities come trade-offs.
That's right.
And we had to make those trade-offs too. And I'm just as proud as those trade-offs because that's what a budget is about, so.
Okay, is there a motion to close the public hearing? Got a motion and second? Okay, back to council for a recommendation. Oh, vote. All in favor? Raise your hand. Thank you. Now,
I'd make a motion to approve this budget as written.
and Andy, your second? All right, we have a motion and a second. Ready to vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you very, very much. And I hope that JC and Terry are listening to this too, so. With that said, we'll move to presentation, petition, and request. Number one, consider approving a new destination brand for downtown Concord.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council, at the work session on Tuesday, heard a very detailed presentation from Matt on the new destination brand for downtown Concord. So tonight, this item's in front of you. Staff is requesting that council approve this to allow us to move forward.
Okay, recommendation from council. Got a motion and a second, ready to vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Okay.
If it's appropriate, I would like to abstain from this vote. I'd like more time to study this, to look at it a little more. I'm sorry. And maybe I don't, I just would like to abstain from this vote. I'd like to study it a little more. I've had a few text messages actually while I've been sitting here about this. I'd rather wait.
Okay, let me go back. We have a vote. Wait, but we had right here called a vote in a second. And I asked, is everybody in favor? Raise your hand. So where are we on that?
So she's making an amendment to table it?
I'd like to table it if we can, just to study it a little more.
So where do we go?
So you have basically two motions on the table. It's really up to the council whether you entertain the second motion or not.
Because the first one was to approve it. And
mine's to table it.
My suggestion would be to take the vote on the first motion, since you have a motion and a second on that.
Mhm.
and if it fails, then you can entertain the second
Okay.
motion.
All right, therefore, all in favor, raise your hand. Of approving this.
Approval, the first motion
Yeah,
on the
the
table.
first motion on the table. Okay, so we have 3 in favor. Okay, against? We have 2 against, so motion passes. So that's done.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you.
okay. Number 2, consider approving a memorandum of understanding between City of Concord and Concord Downtown Development Corporation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You heard on Tuesday night an explanation of this item from staff, and so before you tonight is a request to approve the memorandum of understanding between City of Concord and CDDC on how we provide services and work together.
All right, is there a recommendation from council?
I'll move for approval on that, Mayor.
Got a motion and a second. I'll ask, is there any discussion? Okay, ready to vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. Number 3, consider adopting an ordinance amending the City of Concord Code of Ordinances.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Kevin described this item to council on Tuesday at the work session. Again, this is just a little cleanup after we found an error that needs to be taken out. You can see the narrative in the agenda item. We do not have the authority to extend the code requirement for this item outside the corporate limits, and currently the ordinance does read that way, so we want to strike that if council will so allow us to do.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion?
Motion to adopt.
Yep, we got it. Yes, go ahead.
This earlier, we knew there'd be some balances needed to be done. Commending staff again for going back and looking at this and making sure we're within, legalities, et cetera, that we need to be, and also considering, what we're doing here. So I appreciate them doing that. Andy, did you have the approval? Yeah. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, raise your hand. Thank you very much. Number 4, consider awarding a bid authorizing city manager to execute a contract with Broadlink.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Bethany described this item to council on Tuesday at the work session. This is for installation and maintenance for the city's fiber system. This is a bid was put out. Broadlinks Telecom was the lowest responsive bidder, and so this is for an amount not to exceed $400,000, which is in line with the budget.
All right, is there a motion from council? Motion second? Motion is second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, raise your hand. Thank you very much. Number 5, consider authorizing city manager to negotiate and execute a 1-year contract extension. Town of Harrisburg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Kevin provided this information to council on Tuesday evening. And so we need a 1-year extension to the water sale agreement we have with the town of Harrisburg. Currently, there are some negotiations going on between Harrisburg and Charlotte Water about future water provisions, and so we need a little more time on the current contract to allow those talks to finalize.
All right, is there a recommendation? Got a motion and a second, any discussion? Ready to vote, all in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. Number 6, consider authorizing city manager to negotiate and execute a contract with Richard D. Suggs.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Kevin also described this item on Tuesday. This is the old Charlotte Road water line replacement project, existing 12-inch water line. The low bid is Richard D. Suggs in the amount of $1,510,918.20. Staff would ask that you, council, consider that for us to move forward with that contract.
All right, is there a motion from council? Motion and a second. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. Number 7, consider authorizing city manager to negotiate and execute a contract with Bionomic.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is our contract with Bionomic to remove the sludge out of Cottle Creek Water Treatment Plant. They are the low bid in the amount of $394,810.90. Staff would ask that council approve this contract for us to move forward with the service.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion from council? Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. And number 9, consider appointments and reappointments. You have a sheet.
Number 8.
Oh, I'm sorry, number 8. Consider authorizing city manager to negotiate an interim agreement with Republic Services.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is the second part of the previous item. So once we remove the sludge, we need to dispose of it. This is a The cost to dispose of that at the landfill, the cost will be $288,750. We ask that council approve this contract as well.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion from the council? Motion and second. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. All right, thank you. Now, number 9, consider appointments and reappointments. In front of you, you have the appointments that we will be doing. We'll have 3 positions left open after you do this. One is for 2 on Concord United Committee and 1 on District 7 for the Public Arts. We'll be working on that going forward with our normal procedure. So that said, is there a motion to approve the new boards and commission appointments?
So moved, Mayor.
I'll second, please.
Motion is second. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to say to the council, I appreciate the conversations we've had the last several days by email about how we find and recruit people to be on these boards. These people have got to do a lot of good work, and we're, I think, choosing some very good people to do it.
Thank you. And I think this also points out that in Concord 101, we come out with a lot of candidates. And we need to make sure that we keep moving that forward. So we'll be using that. So we do a motion in a second. Okay,
Betty and Lori.
okay, that's right. Ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you very much. Okay, Lloyd, you got something?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, just one item. I would direct council's attention back to the number 3 under public hearings where we adopted the budget. Of course, as you recall, state law requires that if we have any board members that are sitting on a board that we're providing funding to, we have to pull that funding to that board separately. Cabarrus Arts Council does fit that category, so we need to adopt that one separately. Of course, that was not part of the motion and the second and the vote on the budget that you already had, because this is separately, but we do need a separate motion and to pass that funding.
To approve the budget request that's for the arts.
Funding for Cabarrus Arts Council, that is correct. Is Terry the only one? Betty, you're not on it anymore?
Yeah,
Okay.
so we only have Terry, he's not here, so that's good.
I think that's it. It was Betty and Terry. I think Betty's off now.
Yeah. So is there a motion to approve that?
I'll make that motion to approve that.
Thank you. Got a second? Ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. Anything else like that?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor. That'll just keep us in compliance with state law, which is
I hate
pretty
to
important.
be out of compliance. Okay, I don't look good in orange. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Got a motion and a second. Ready to vote? All in favor, raise your hand. Okay, thank you very much. We'll move to items not on the agenda since we have 10 pages of things behind this. And let me just start off by, don't forget that by end of business tomorrow, we need to have your sewer allocations submitted to Kim. And she'll take care of it from there. All right, TAC, Transportation Advisory Committee, anything? Okay, no, the MTC, anything there? Nothing there. Central Iowa Regional Council?
No report.
No report. CK Transit Commission?
No report. I believe we have a meeting coming up at the end of June.
Okay, very good. Water and Sewer Authority?
We adopted budget. As most of you guys know, Michael is leaving. He'll be retiring the end of June, I think. And we're working on replacement. And then we're just looking forward to Black and Beach being here to present the master plan on the 26th.
Excellent. All right. Public Art?
Did you get WeBuild?
Well, I will in a minute. I'm just sort of,
Yeah, I think Doyle's here.
come on up. I'm just, Lloyd had added some things, so I made sure that I go in his order.
Okay. That's probably right. That's probably the smart thing to do. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Just wanted to give you a quick update on the progress of the projects that we've got approved for our annual work plan. The first one is the Downtown Streetscape Revolving Art Program. Got to come up with a better title for that one. In May, an RFP was sent out requesting candidates apply to curate and launch this program. We ended up with 7 applicants that we thought were all well qualified, and so the PAC reviewed and scored all the applicants individually, and then had a very lively discussion in the meeting, and we ended up selecting a curator, and that's Alyssa Nelson. She's from Salisbury. Just a little quick thing on her background. She's run annual sculpture shows for a long time for the city of Salisbury. She's coordinated murals, and she's done a lot of other projects, art projects, public art projects. So right now, city staff is currently finalizing Alyssa's contract, and the plan is for her to begin work in July. The project for the transit center shelter windows, we got a sample of the windows that are going to be replaced. They're, I can't remember the type of plastic, but some plastic.
Magic plastic.
Magic plastic, thank you, that's the one, clear. And after looking at that and thinking some about where the windows actually are, we are going to discuss possible new directions for that project. Maybe not as much window art, and maybe some more art, more at people level, let's put it that way. And I will say that once we kind of get that finalized, we're going to use the procedures that were created with Alyssa for the streetscape to find artists for that the commission will do that on their own, commission and staff, of course. The next project is the Mural Assistance Grant. We've developed an application form draft and a program guidelines document for our next meeting. We're going to discuss ways to move that forward, get those documents out there for people to be able to apply for a grant. Next project is an interactive public art map. That's the sexier name for the, what do we call it? The public art database was too bland, evidently. So for that, we've gathered info on 12 currently existing art pieces in the city, and working with Gary Washburn in IT to, he's using those 12 as test cases to help develop a database and a map, and then try and figure out where it's going to live for everybody. So we're working with him for that. And then finally, the last project is a mural on city property. And Parks and Rec has suggested a possible location at Les Myers Park, which is the back of a tennis wall, the tennis practice wall. It's a block wall that faces, what's that, Lawndale, I guess. Of course, that's not a final location, but that's one in consideration. And then other locations, of course, are still welcome, and then they'll be considered. And then once a location is determined, once again, we'll use the procedures that we've worked with Alyssa to generate, to find an artist and get that done too. And that's all I've got, unless there's any questions.
Any questions? Thank you very much.
Yep, thank you.
Now, I have flipped the page and I have We Build Concord. Dr. Graham, welcome.
Thank you.
Did you hear all the discussions earlier today? In
Yes.
the meeting? Yeah, that's interesting, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Not surprising, but interesting. Mr. Mayor, City Council, Ms. Koczynski, Ms. Deason. Just a quick report from us. We are now up to the last building for the townhome project at Lincoln Street. We plan to also have the parking lot of that project done by mid-July. And that means that those 20 units, the first 20 will definitely be open for sale. There's also an RFP that goes out next week, and I'm happy to say that the Kerr Street project is the RFP we're sending out, and that actually is for construction. And so with that, you'll have 13 units and 8 office spaces. As part of that project too, we met with some of your staff at Clearwater to also discuss how we can collaborate on your bus stops and designing them around some of the themes within that building, as well as the bike pump and skate park across the street. Also, there's an RFP next week that also goes out for architecture and engineering for Corbin Street. That will be, right now, estimated 11 units for seniors. They will all be affordable. Malvern Nursing Home Project, floor plans, outside elevations, and internal fixtures have been selected with the help of our advisory council. That'll be 5 units in phase 1 and then 3 to 5 units in phase 2. 7 homes have hit the market 10 days ago from WeBuild. We actually do have some people already in the pipeline getting prepared for their pre-approval process. And we recently advertised 2 new positions, an executive administrator, one that has a background either in construction or real estate, and a partner and development lead for fund development. In total, meeting with the executive recruitment consultants that we're using, we had 423 applicants between both. So that's actually a lot of people to get through. So however, in meeting with them yesterday afternoon, we're getting close to getting down to about 20, and then they will do phone interviews, and we will narrow down to our top 5 for personal interviews. And with that, that's all I have for this evening. Any questions?
Just one?
Yes.
If you put all your under construction, completed, planned, how many units are we up to now?
86, and if you add 10 from Rockland Circle, which is approved for sewer, but we're still trying to negotiate with the developer if they'll be able to, the construction company they're using will be able to take on that project, then you go up to 96.
Okay.
I don't want to count those yet.
Okay.
Dr. Graham, the Kerr Street, that's the church?
Yes.
Great.
And
I'm excited about that. Beautiful structure.
by the way, that the official name will be the sanctuary. So we're going to keep in with the theme.
Nice.
We will also keep the placards out of the original building to make sure that everyone knows its history. And we've been in discussion with some past members about photos that maybe we can hang inside the lobby so that people will remember what it was.
Beautiful stained glass.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Right, thank you.
Nice update. Moving on to Concord United Committee. Hello, Bob. Welcome. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. My name is Bob Anderson, and I thank you for allowing me to give a brief update on behalf of the Concord United Committee. At our last full committee meeting on May the 28th, we heard a presentation by Jasmine Jones Bynes. Jasmine holds a master's degree in city and regional planning, works in affordable housing finance, and is one of 2 hosts of the 4 Degrees to the Streets podcast. Jasmine's presentation was on food access in lower income communities. The presentation covered areas ranging from factors that influence health, the social determinants of health, food access, food deserts, and food insecurity, to implementable solutions for communities, both micro and macro. Our subcommittee on food deserts continues to meet, with the most current meeting being this past Tuesday, June the 11th. Our next full committee meeting is scheduled for June the 25th at 6 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions from council? All right. Council have anything else they want to discuss tonight?
it's not discussion, but I had the pleasure on Friday of attending, and I'm going to try to get this right, so correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, the first lateral class that the fire department has graduated. So what that means, if you don't know, because I didn't know, and Jake schooled me on this, is we actually had, how many? 9? Okay, 13. I was close. We had 13 individuals, and so those were individuals that were not new to the fire service, but were new to the city of Concord. And so I guess normally they would have to go through the entire process versus now it is a 6-week,
It was 28 weeks for traditional, and that's 8 weeks for traditional.
8 weeks. So maybe I should have just called Jacob and added that. I don't want to put him on the spot. So clearly, the gist of it is we welcomed a lot of new people to our family that were families from other states, Rhode Island, and some down the road from Salisbury. So it was very touching to hear the stories and the way that you guys presented that of, they talked about how the city invests in its people and they invest in you, equipment, training, and all this. But they actually turned it around and they said, but here's what the city's getting in return. And they didn't mention names, but they talked about every individual and this individual coming from here. And of course, they said something funny, but like what they were bringing. And it just was very, very well done. So I am very glad that I had the opportunity to do that. And I'm proud that we work for a city that, again, we take care of our people, but we also have to remember these are people that work for other cities that came to Concord for reasons that, because of the things we do. So I just wanted to share that, and I look forward to the next class.
There's no pressure, Chief. No. Anyone else have something? And Chief enjoyed the, putting the new trucks into operation. That's very good. So that's quite the service there. All right, that said, we really appreciate you being here. Great job, staff, on getting the budget done, and we would like a motion to adjourn. Second?
Second, yes.
All in favor, say aye. That counts. Thank you very much. Everybody have a good evening.
Thank you.